Eric is a 26-year-old, well educated, respected man who works for a bank in New York. Every day, he works extremely hard to provide for his family. He earns about $2,000 each month, something he's very happy with because Eric grew up in a below average household. His boss, on the other hand, Jeffrey, is the son of the vice president of the bank and was directly hired to fulfill a managerial position. And even though he never really had any financial education, he still earns $8,000 each month. Now, out of Eric and Jeffrey, who will be wealthier in 20 years? The answer may surprise you. Hi, my name is Tim from How to Wealth, and today my friend and I are going to explain to you what wealth really is and how you can achieve it in just four simple steps. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to my friend Guy.
Thanks, Tim. Let me formally introduce myself. My name is Guy and I am a self-made online millionaire, and today I would like to explain to you what the true meaning of wealth is, and how you can achieve it for yourself. To do so, I have prepared 4 easy steps for you, so you can easily follow along. In step 1, we are going to talk about the true meaning of wealth, and what it means for people like you and me. In order to understand what wealth really means, it's important to take a step back and examine what it means to be wealthy in the first place. Wealth isn't simply about how much money you have or even how many things you own, it's also about what you have control over and the freedom you have to make decisions in your life. In fact, being wealthy can mean different things depending on who you are and what's important to you. According to Mark Zuckerberg, wealth is measured in time. By that definition, we are all wealthy in one way or another if we can manage our time effectively and set ourselves up with enough free time to pursue passions that enrich our lives. While there is no right or wrong answer to what wealth means, it's important to define your own version of wealth so you know what you want out of life. If you ask me what my definition of wealth is, I would answer something I learned a few years ago from a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It says that wealth is the amount of time you can survive if you would stop working right now. Let me give you an example of what I mean with that. You have met Eric, right? Eric grew up in a loving household with his dad, his mom, and little sister. His father was a strict man who didn't like spending a dime on anything. Although he was a bit extreme, he taught Eric from a young age not to go out and spend lots of money on things you don't need, and to always have a backup in case his bike broke down or he needed a new computer for school. At age 26, he is a junior financial advisor for a bank in New York, and he earns $2,000 a month. Eric tries to save 50% of his salary each month. The other 50% of his salary he uses to pay his bills. He was able to save around 50% of his salary each month because he applied some techniques that I'll explain later on. You've also met Jeffrey, Eric's boss at the bank. Jeffrey grew up rich because, like I said, he was the son of the vice president of the bank they both worked for. Jeffrey never worried about his bike breaking down or whether he needed a new computer for his schoolwork, he simply asked his dad and he would get it. But when Jeffrey turned 24, his dad had enough of his laziness and partying, so he offered him that managerial job at the bank. That's how Jeffrey became Eric's boss. Because of the managerial position, Jeffrey instantly earned $8,000 a month. And because Jeffrey didn't have to ask his dad for money anymore, he can do whatever he wants. The first night he goes out and buys an expensive champagne bottle. After 3 months he buys a nice car, and in between he orders takeout almost every single day. At the end of the month, Jeffrey is lucky if he saves about 10% of his salary. 12 months later, Eric kept saving 50% of his salary each month. So when you calculate 50% of his $2,000 salary, Eric saves $1,000 every month. That's $12,000 per year. Jeffrey kept saving about 10% of his salary each month. He earned $8,000 a month, so 10% of that is $800. That's still $9,600 per year. If you go by my definition of wealth, how long you could survive if you stopped working right now, you will see that Eric, because he spends $1,000 a month on bills, could last an entire year with his $12,000 in his savings account, and not worry about a thing. But Jeffrey, on the other hand, spending 90% of his salary, that being $7,200, could only last a bit longer than a month before he is completely broke. What I'm trying to say is that, most of the times, your expenses are going to match your income, and that's often because people lack the financial knowledge and just think that earning more money makes you wealthier. These people will never reach financial freedom. Eric knew this because he read a lot of books about personal finances when he was younger. So even though Jeffrey earns 4 times the amount that Eric does, because of his spending habits, he wouldn't be able to last 2 months if he would quit his job right now. So, you see that earning more money doesn't necessarily make you wealthier. In order to reach wealth and financial freedom, you have to first understand how money works. Most people go about creating wealth all wrong. Like I said, for most people, wealth creation is a matter of earning more money through your job. This can be an effective way to boost your net worth, but it's not really creating wealth. The goal should be to increase your assets while reducing liabilities. Meaning you need to figure out how to make money work for you in ways that generate income without any additional effort on your part. Which leads me to step 2, how can you create more wealth? The first method is through investing. The surest way to build wealth is through consistent investing. There are a lot of factors to consider when creating an investment strategy, but at its core, investing is all about building wealth for yourself over time by buying assets, like stocks and bonds, that appreciate in value. On average, the historic return of the stock market is around 10%. This of course isn't always the case every year, but if you look up famous stocks online like the S&P 500, more on that in another video, you will see a steady increase almost every single year. Cryptocurrency, although more volatile, is also a good investment option if you believe in the business behind it. It's always important to make sure you always do your own research before investing in a stock, ETF, or cryptocurrency. The second way to increasing your wealth is by not spending everything you earn, like Jeffrey. If there's one thing that prevents people from becoming wealthy, it's their spending habits. People who don't manage their money well tend to live paycheck to paycheck and never build up enough savings or investments to provide them with financial security later in life. The best way to avoid falling into this trap is by being smart and saving as much as possible so that your investments can do some of the heavy lifting when it comes to your retirement plan. And keep in mind that if you do this well enough, retirement doesn't have to mean you can quit working when you're 65 years old. It could mean that you plan to retire at 35 and live the rest of your life of your assets. Thirdly, and this is also a type of investing, is using your earnings to buy things that will appreciate in value. This goes back to investing in assets that are expected to grow over time. Real estate has historically appreciated, and so has artwork, collectibles, rare coins, stamps, wine collections, and even Pokemon cards. And unlike something like a car or boat, these items often hold their value even after they've been purchased. Last but not least is starting a business. Entrepreneurship is another excellent way to create wealth because it allows you to leverage your skills and talents into something profitable. While the sound of starting a business often sounds exciting and fun, you have to keep in mind that running a business requires a lot of time and dedication. But if you're up for the challenge, go for it. At least you won't have any regrets later down the line for not trying something out. And to make it even better, we are going to focus on a lot of different business models in the coming months, so if you are seriously considering starting a business, it would be in your best interest to click that subscribe button. Now you know a few ways how to increase your wealth. In step 3, we are going to figure out what type of money personality you have. Now this step might be confrontational for some of you, but you have to be honest with yourself in order to achieve wealth. Understanding your money personality will go a long way towards helping you figure out what you need to do with your finances, whether that's saving more, investing, or making better financial decisions overall. The idea here is that people typically have one of 4 money personalities: spender, saver, investor, or debtor. Are you number 1? The spender. Those with a spending personality type don't usually spend their money at department stores. They are in style and looking to make a statement. That often means that they want the latest phone, the biggest television, and a beautiful home. This kind of lifestyle is expensive, so the spenders may find themselves living paycheck to paycheck if they aren't careful. Are you number 2? The saver. To be a saver, the complete opposite of a spender. He or she does things like turning off the lights as soon as they exit a room, shopping for items only when necessary, and never purchasing anything with a credit card. They generally do not owe any money and have a hard time watching money leave their bank account. Savers are conservative by nature and typically don't like investments that have big risks. Or maybe number 3? The investor. Investors are very aware of their money. They understand their finances and try to find the best ways to invest. Although it depends on their current financial situation, most investors plan for a day when passive investments will generate enough income to cover all of their expenses. Their investments show their commitment to careful decision-making and understanding the need to take on a certain level of risk in pursuit of their goals. Or are you number 4? The debtor. Debtors typically don't shop to make a statement, to entertain themselves, or to lift their moods. Rather, they don't spend much time thinking about their money, so they don't notice how much they spend and where they spend it. Most debtors tend to overspend, so they have accumulated deep debt and don't put any money into investments. Now, it doesn't matter what type of money personality you have, the only thing that matters for now is that you are being honest with yourself. Being honest with yourself is the first and most important step to changing your spending habits. By now you hopefully have learned what the definition of wealth truly is, as well as some ways to increase that wealth. And now, you also know what type of money personality you have. So for the last step, I want to give you some tips on how you can manage your money. Tip number 1. Track your spending. If you don't know what you're spending each month, there's a good chance your spending habits could use some work. Better money management starts with a spending plan. Monitor your spending habits by logging into a money management app like Spendee to track where you're spending your money. Once you have an understanding of these habits, you can make a plan to improve. The second tip is to create a realistic monthly budget. It's helpful to take your monthly spending habits and monthly take-home pay into account to calculate your budget. Rather than setting a strict budget in line with radical changes like no longer eating out when you typically order takeout 2 times a week, come up with a budget that suits your lifestyle and spending habits. You should see a budget as a way to establish new habits, such as cooking at home more often. But set yourself up for success by making it a bit easier on yourself. This way your budgeting technique will actually work. The third tip is probably applicable to everyone watching this video. That is cutting back on recurring charges. How many of you are subscribed to services you don't really use? It's easy to forget about your monthly subscriptions to streaming services and mobile apps, which keep on charging you even when you don't use them very often. Take a second to go through your bank and credit card statements and search for charges like these, and cancel any unnecessary subscriptions so you can save more money at the end of the month. You should also write down how much money you actually save, and X that amount times 12, then you can really see how much money you save each year. Let's put these 3 tips into action. Now, I don't know how much money you spend on activities, food, subscriptions and other things every month, but let's say it's $750. Whilst tracking your spendings, you noticed that you buy 14 sandwiches each month at your local cafeteria. Every sandwich costs you $6. You decide to set a monthly budget that still allows you to buy 6 sandwiches instead of 14. That means you buy 8 less sandwiches each month. On average, you can make your own lunch for $2. So each sandwich saves you $4. 8 times 4 equals $32 a month. Now you also notice 3 subscriptions you don't use are still active, each of them costing you $10 a month. Canceling them means you save another $30 each month. And last but not least, you are aware of the fact that you buy way too many clothes. Around $200 worth of clothes every month. But you love clothing and still want to be able to buy new things every month, so you cut your budget back from $200 to $150 a month. In total, you save $32 from sandwiches, $30 from subscriptions, and $50 on clothing. That's $112 you save every month now. Let's calculate how much money this is if you were to put it into a stock with an annual return of about 5%. Before we get into some calculations, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and turn on notifications if you've enjoyed the video so far. You now save an additional $112 each month. If you take that $112 and put it into that 5% annual return stock we were talking about, you would have an extra $1,344 after 1 year. Now I hear some of you say, "But Guy, I want to be a millionaire. $1,344 isn't gonna cut it for me, especially if I have to wait 1 year to get it." Trust me, I understand where you're coming from, but you also need to understand that these are the types of things the rich do, and the poor simply don't. In this case, we've started small, with an $112 investment. But what about Eric? If Eric sticks to his monthly budget, he is able to save $1,000 each month. If he invests his monthly savings of $1,000 a month into a stock or ETF, with an annual return of 5%, Eric would have an estimated $150,000 after 10 years. But what about 20 years? Well, he would have approximately $400,000. But there is a twist, you see. This is what Eric did. Eric is now 46, and because he knew how to handle his finances, he is now retired and living of his assets. He is also able to buy this brand new car. In fact, Eric is so happy with his new car that he spends the entire day driving it around. Just before it turns midnight, he notices that the gas tank is almost empty. So Eric decides to go and fill it up at the local gas station. But at the checkout, he comes across a familiar face. It's Jeffrey. Jeffrey now works at the gas station and tells Eric that he got into a big fight with the CEO of the bank a few years ago. He got fired from his managerial position, and because his dad retired, didn't have anything to fall back on. After they talked for a bit, Eric pays for his gas and says goodbye to Jeffrey, but when Eric is about to leave, he hears Jeffrey yell to him, "You should join me this Friday, bro. Tomorrow, I'm working an extra shift so I can go to this pool party." Eric laughs to himself. I guess some people never change.
Hi guys, it's me again. I just wanted to say thank you for watching this video. If you've made it to the end, make sure to comment if you know a Jeffrey in your life and how your Jeffrey ended up. Other than that, I just wish you an amazing day and I hope to see you in the next video.